Hello, everyone, and welcome to the American Scouser podcast. Monday night, we are back. Labor Day. Just had the grill and the burger and everything going. Beautiful weather outside, to be fair, so I can't complain at all. But Galdy's out in Vegas somewhere. God knows what. He was probably placed a parlay bet on Isak and Guehi getting done at the same time, and he probably already lost that. Trying to recoup that. But Bickler's in the house. What's happening?
I am. I'm here with all my money, not in Vegas. Yes. And it's transfer deadline day. And thank fuck that's over. Like, yeah. Good Lord, dude.
It was.
Proof that even though it's an exciting window and things are going well for your club, it's still emotionally exhausting.
Why did it turn like that? It didn't feel like I say, I've been talking about this all summer. I normally hate it. This year, I was almost like a little excited, looking forward to it. But then, like I say, these last 3-4 weeks, is it just too long? I mean, they were like, I've been watching like different podcasts and stuff like that throughout this period. And I guess like my biggest thing is this whole thing is not good for a lot of clubs, especially the smaller clubs. We saw today, it's definitely not good on the players in most cases. So why not freaking finish this thing before the season starts? So 3 weeks into a season, people are not having to shuffle stuff around going into an international break.
Well, I mean, I think some of it just happens to be what happens when you're one of the last dominoes to fall, when the dominoes start falling and all the chips are moving around. I think the other bit is that like teams strategically wait till the very last minute, A, hoping something will fall through, or B, hoping they can get as much out of their best players as they can before they got to let them go.
Yeah, because I mean, like knowing like the Turkish league and stuff like that. I mean, they kind of like wait till these last minutes. That's why you suddenly saw, like Gündoğan, Ederson, and all these people like going to like Turkey and stuff like that, because they're almost like, I always say this about like Turkish league, Greek league. It's almost like you're behind the restaurants trying to see what they're going to throw in the dumpster. They're like, you guys are not going to finish that Gündoğan? I'll take it. It's kind of a thing. And then like, 4 million, 5 million, grab it and go. I mean, that's what it like reminds me of in those leagues. So I know why those, and that's the thing, this delays everything. So now they have to wait because the business in the bigger leagues is not done and stuff like that. So it's a big mess. Mitter says you think it's over until Guehi talk consumes us until something changes in January. I mean, we were talking this morning with Mateusz, and we were talking about, I think, what was the grade we came up? He came up with a 9.92 out of 10 or something crazy like that. With the Guehi thing not happening now, where do you rank this window overall?
I mean, I would rate this window overall an A-, which seems crazy on the face of it. The reason why is I think that although I think we got better through the window, I think we lost some depth, like in general. Like if you look at it between like Diaz, Darwin, Jota, you could even throw Doak in there. Like I guess you're putting Rio in there, so Doak's a wash, but you've brought in Isak and Ekiteke, but like you still, lost the third guy. So I think like for me, I think we're one attacker short. I think we're one center back short still. I know a lot of people are saying 4 is plenty. I just think when your 4 are comprised of an 18-year-old Italian who's never played for you, a guy in Gomez who can't routinely stay fit, and a guy in Konate who's up and down with his form and appears to have his head halfway turned by Real. I think we could have used that, that Guehi one to fall through. And I don't fault the club for that falling through. I'm sure we'll get into it, but I just, sometimes them's the way it falls, you know what I mean? And I think that way, we'll be back in January, see what happens.
Yeah, I think the fact that, sadly, in a couple of months, we're going to be right back in the shit and talking about it. So it's not that long off. And I agree with the whole depth thing. I guess to me, if you're not playing them or if you don't trust them, right, it's depth. I mean, it's depth only on paper, if then in the manager's mind. I mean, if you would rather have like 1 or 2 less guys, but have no reservations about like throwing them out there in an important game or like, in the 60th minute, blah, blah, blah. I rather have that than have all these guys laying around, but nobody has any faith in him. And, all these people going crazy about like Elliott was when he was, if they saw him in the starting lineup, they would freak out. Same thing with like, everybody who was panicking yesterday when Gomez was being sold, which mind you, we took it as like Guehi probably joining at the time. They're all kind of going over like the center back panic and stuff like that. I think if this should be able to take it till January, yeah, Guehi would make it like a perfect window. I think we'd be fine attacker wise as well, and we'd be in good shape. It does kind of make it, oh man, I was so sold on it. And in some ways, that was more important to me as a name over the Isak thing in some ways, as long as it was an attacker, just because what he can bring with his passing and stuff like that. But hopefully maybe like in January, if need be. I just worry that with injuries and stuff, we'll have some competition for it now. So that price you would think would be less in January, might even be more now and stuff. But joining us from his hotel over here, let's before Dan is right back there.
He looks surprisingly more sober than I thought he would.
A hell of a lot more sober.
I mean, it is only 5 o'clock, so he's almost probably not sober. But I mean, I know you have to run, but let's get your overall take of this, like the last day of the transfer market, Gally.
Yeah, I'll got to be honest. I think we're all over the place here because I think we were all so giddy and excited as the announcements were happening that I think now people are playing their own like single day revisionist history. Like we are, and I know what Paul's saying, but we're actually deeper than we were last year. I don't really care what anyone says because there's more attacking options through the midfield than there were last year. Ekitike and Isak is an upgrade on Diaz and Nunez. We all know that the Jota thing was a tragic loss that we couldn't kind of wrap our head around. But ultimately, you re-sign Gakpo, you have a young player in Rio, and the manager is showing that he has more faith in a Chiesa that we all wanted to see. And he's going to get more minutes now because of it. And Mo still plays 90 minutes of every match. And you have Wirtz eventually adding to the attack. I think part of why there's a little bloom off the attacking rows is because Wirtz hasn't looked like what we thought we might be getting through 3 matches. But I think it was kind of fool's gold to think he was just going to hit the ground running and be Kevin De Bruyne in his prime, because it took Kevin De Bruyne, I mean, let's be real, a failed trip at Chelsea. And then Kevin De Bruyne had 1 assist in attacking returns in his first 7 starts for City. It took him time there where people were calling him a bust again. And I get where Paul's coming from, but I just see the defense as people just going way over the top. I know the Guehi thing was big. I wanted Guehi more than anybody. But like yesterday, guys were telling me it would be crazy to let Gomez go because he's a Rolls Royce when he plays. And then today, when I said he's your 4th choice option and you have him, people were like, but he's never fit and you can't rely on him. But yesterday they were yelling at me when we were going to sell him for 10 million. Like it's 3.5 months where there's 6 weeks worth of international windows in that period. And I know we're going to play a lot of matches, but I think part of the reason they were so excited about maybe letting Gomez go was, one, they have a lot more faith in Leone now that they've seen him in training, and him getting called into the Italian side on 18 professional starts and the way people are talking about him, maybe he's ready to play the League Cup games and give you a low-level start against a pot 3 or pot 4 team in the Champions League, or start against a Burnley. But the Szoboszlai at right back thing, I think, is something we're going to see more of. And if they have to, they'll move Szoboszlai into midfield, which will probably force Wirtz into the attack. And I really think January 1st, Guehi is a done deal, because I don't think Glasner will be the manager of Crystal Palace by January 1st. And I'm dead set on that. Like, he'll either take a upgraded job or they may let him go because they're spending $1 million a week on wages and lost transfers if this guy goes on a free. And a club like Crystal Palace can't spend $50 million on a player. They can't. So it's going to be a massive, massive like swing. And to your point, Tim, I do agree there could be competition. Spurs, Newcastle, and City made bids for Crystal Palace's Marc Guehi this window. He told every one of them, pound sand, I'm going to Liverpool. Most people think the deal is done He'll come next summer on a free. So I think we get him in January. It probably comes for like 25 million, 20 million.
Yeah, you would think the price would definitely go down unless, like I say, my concern is somebody comes in and it's still Crystal Palace ultimately selling him, but I don't know if his head will be turned. And, you know, you don't know which way the season is going to go and stuff. Obviously, would have been a lot better to seal the deal overall, but
Sure.
Give us your grade for this window overall.
I'd said it would be a 9 out of 10, even without Guehi. If you got Guehi, it would have been a 10 out of 10 window. I think anytime you add 2 starting caliber fullbacks, you add a center back for the future, and you add 2 of the best attackers, 3 of the best 4 or 5 attackers that moved across all of Europe in one window, I think it's hard to call that anything but an absolute masterclass of a transfer window. And I know people are going to say they left it late. We had the Discord arguments all day long today. You called it, I think at one point, Tim, you called it a straw man's argument, or someone used the straw man's argument and you were like, what straw man? What do we want to just bid against ourselves? Like, we just talked in circles today because we thought we had something and then it got taken out from under us. The worst part about this is we're going to spend 15 to 20 minutes, and it'll be all the 15 to 20 minutes I have with you guys, but we'll spend all this time talking about this one day of the transfer window. Not that Liverpool just completed the most successful transfer window they've ever had, coming from a point of strength, which is what we've always asked for, coming off of a day where we had a win against our best rival. We haven't played good yet, and we have 9 points from 9.
Well, like, that's the biggest thing.
That to me bothers me. I
mean, the whole Veers thing, for example, I mean, the opponents we played against are probably not the games that I kind of expected them to be, the pulling the strings and stuff like that overall. And I mean, Kyrgyz, like I say, was kind of like a worry in the beginning. I mean, this is going to be a growing phase. And I think the biggest thing is, which we'll talk about the game a lot, obviously, Bickler, but I figured we start with the transfer window because obviously that's like the hot topic that everybody's probably going to talk about right now. But ultimately, you kind of phased. We're seeing now that the Bournemouth fixture is actually a tricky one. And it would normally be a tricky one 10 weeks in, right? Like, initially, we all thought, obviously, it's match day 1. We thought, hey, they changed 3 out of the 4 in the back. They're probably not going to be that good and stuff. And on paper, at the time, it looked, right now, it's looking more like that could have been a tougher fixture if you looked at it like match day 10, match day 12, or something like that. Going away to Newcastle and then Arsenal, you get 9 points as you're kind of like sputtering, you know, like the bad gas or something in the engine. There's something weird going on. But now you can pull over during the international break, maybe make some adjustments and stuff like that. So there is a lot to be optimistic about. Why do you think, I mean, is it just because, like Gally says, like Guehi looked like a done deal? It's almost like we were walking out of the store and they were like, no, you can't have that. And it's kind of like that disappointment. Oh, I thought I had a good deal. Nope, you don't.
Well, I mean, I think we can probably make arguments about the depth all day long, but I think, you know, in some form or fashion, we've had a center depth conversation for almost a decade now. Yeah. And I think so some of that is like, oh, we're finally going to get the guy and really have 3 guys that you can plug into a starting rotation. I think what's interesting is that with Konate's form and what's going on with that, I think everyone assumed that Guehi would be would just walk in as the number 2. And I'm not so sure about that. Not only because of like, I think Konate is pretty darn good, but also because, you know, in 135 starts, he started less of them. Like he started less than 30 of them on the right side of that center back pair. And so unless, you know, you're going to use him as rotation for Van Dijk and Van Dijk's going to sit an awful lot of matches, like it's going to be an adjustment to just flip him to that right side. If that's what we're going to do, I'm not so sure that was the plan. So I do think, you know, I think in a lot of ways we think Guehi for now, Leone for the future. And I think in some ways this may be flipped a little bit. I think that maybe Guehi is like Verge when Verge's legs go. And I think Leone is the right now because he's predominantly a right-sided center back. Yeah. And I think that we're looking at him as an 18-year-old kid who's never played for us from Italy and thinking he's a project. And I think he's a lot closer than I think a lot of us think.
I think the price tag shows kind of like he's not that much of a project either. I don't think they would have thrown that much. And the fact that the Gomez thing even came out, Gally, kind of shows me that as well, that they were okay with Leone, very comfortable with him being the number 4 option and stuff. The Guehi thing, I agree with Bickler, but I felt it was perfect in the sense that it was your succession plan to Van Dijk already here. And you would feel just as comfortable playing him on the right-hand side and stuff, or you would be able to give Van Dijk some games off and stuff like that through the season. So I thought in that sense it was going to be perfect. And I think he had some of the qualities that Konate does not have in terms of, like, you know, passing from, you know, building play and stuff like that. You were going to have it from both your center backs. I mean, I guess, Gally, I would be more worried if I did not see Gomez come in. And I realize, you know, the Gomez, right? Like, he might be there today and he might, like, hurt himself as we're speaking right now, like laying down on bed or something like that. But when I saw Gomez this weekend, and I thought he was excellent coming in, I was really saying, like, we need a center back. Guehi move might be more important and stuff, because at the time we did not really know how serious, you know, Gomez's issue was. I don't know. I'm not somehow that worried about the center back thing, just because we're only talking 3 months over here and all 3 are healthy right now, and the young kid as well.
Yeah. And I mean, I get it. I completely understand the angst, the nerves. Paul is right. We have had a center back issue for years, but we did start this season with 4 of them. As much as we can clamor on Gomez's injury history, and it's funny, Kazi will sit there in our Discord and bang on how we failed because we didn't get Guehi and we're dead, we're effed and we can't survive. But then the day before was arguing that 2 years ago, Gomez made 40 appearances and played over 1,800 minutes. So which is it? He can be fit or he can't be. And if he's fit, we know he's good. He was great for the 20 minutes he played against Newcastle. He was even better against Arsenal. So, like, I think there's a period we know what we have in the player. We know if we can keep him upright. It'll be interesting to me. I'm excited to see Leone play in the League Cup. I'm assuming he'll start that match, right? And Konate was really good against Arsenal. Like, looked like he bounced back to form. My whole argument would be this. When we talk about it, we now have 4 center backs and 4 fullbacks and 2 keepers. And I would argue, of those 10 defenders, we are much better defensively, even though we're still figuring it out, than we were last year with Trent, Tsimikas, and Kelleher, and Kwanzaa, who the manager didn't want to play. So to me, I still think we're deeper. Would we have been better with Guehi? No questions asked.
Yeah.
But I still will come back on, until you show me a 100% fit and firing McAllister and Gravenberch partnership, I'm not judging any of the center backs or how the fullbacks play, because I think they're all figuring it out. I thought Kirkez was outstanding against Arsenal, like really, really good. And he got slated the first 2. We'll get Frimpong back. Like, I think we're just getting caught up in it because this was so much fun in this window. And as we wrapped it up, it was like we had the bow in the party. I made the analogy. Guehi would have been like the cherry on top of the sundae. But even without the cherry, it's a really good tasting effing sundae. So, like, I wish we would just enjoy it. Like, you know, so I definitely have to bounce because, well, I'm in Vegas, got to find a dispensary, a restaurant to eat in, and it's Labor Day. So, well, all right, let's be real. I just got to find a dispensary. But I'm really, really excited to, 1, find the dispensary, 2, hit the casino floor. I will say, I sat down, had my first drink, put a 20 in one of those poker machines where they give you a free watered down cocktail and you never win. And I left with a $600 payout voucher on a 20. So I'm up $580 to start this shit, people. So wish me luck. And hopefully that 600 equals the bail money that's going to be needed.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's going to be a totally different story.
If Kelly's not here, people,
Monday.
I'm
Good
in
luck,
real
buddy.
trouble. Real trouble.
Oh, man.
All right, guys. Have a great show.
Take it
Appreciate
easy.
you. Have fun.
Yeah, I mean,
I wasn't too worried until I just found out that he was unsupervised and Kelly's not there. Now I'm worried.
Oh, I knew he wasn't supervised. I just found out he thinks he's in the plus 580 on top of it. that makes it even a more dangerous galley at Vegas over there. Yes, he's definitely unsupervised. I know he has like business. He's there for business, official business. Let's hope he wakes up for it tomorrow morning. But yes, everybody's like.
Listen, I told him if he's going to if he's going to maximize those savings and that money, he's got to go to the dispensaries off the strip. That's the key there. The ones on the strip are a tourist trap, man.
Oh yeah, but then again, then you have to go there and stuff. I highly. He's in the plus now, dude. He's not gonna worry about that. So he'll just
That's
go.
fair.
He'll give the extra over there. So let's get back to the. I mean, look, the window overall. I don't know. Like this whole thing somehow tainted it for people. I don't understand the over the top panic, and I really don't understand. I mean, we've had it on Discord, quite a few people. I just don't understand the concept of people thinking we should have bits against ourselves.
Listen, let's face it,
Newcastle and Palace and stuff. Like
nobody's freaking out about this if we weren't off the back-to-back weeks of playing Soboslai 3 weeks into the season at fullback. Like that's what most of this is. It's just blowback PTSD from the fact that we're already down.
Match in both of those.
Listen, he's been fantastic. I'm not arguing that. I'm just arguing the fact that we're starting a midfielder and fullback 3 weeks in, and it's probably not helping the conversation.
You think that's what it is? I mean,
I do. I think that's part of it. I definitely think it's part of it.
Because I feel like that's Slaughter's probably like, this is almost like good. I'm getting all the 4 midfielders on the pitch. I couldn't figure out how the hell to do that, and this lets me get all 4 midfielders on the pitch at the same time.
I told you he wasn't dropping Soboslai.
I mean, if he wasn't dropping him before, he has made himself pretty much like undroppable at the moment with his play. We'll go to the game. Let's talk about that, and then we'll come back to all the like where we are now. And obviously, we have the good old fun international break now to kind of like work on stuff. The bad thing about a team like Liverpool, I was talking about this morning too. It's not like they can like, now hit the training pitch or something like that. Everybody's gone. So it would be more about though. I mean, what do you think about this? I really do think it will be some time for Slot and his crew, because it's one thing to do preseason, one thing to do the training sessions and stuff like that, but now you saw your team and these new guys especially, and like maybe the combinations as well, like Kerkez and Gakpo and stuff like that. So you saw that in action in probably like the toughest environments, right? Like they're probably like some of their bigger tests they're going to get. I think it's a good sample size of them to go back in the lab, as they say, and then say, hey, we can do this now, we can do that now. And I feel like there will be a lot of tweaks after this international break.
Yeah, it feels like they finally got a data set they can work with, right? I mean, like it's like one of those things where like you have to have enough, like you have to have a large enough sample size to sort of make those tweaks. So I think so. It feels like it's starting to come together, right? Like, I mean, even, we come through, we get a little lucky, we skate through with 3 points on each of those matches. But I think for me, like the thing is that you saw, Slot make some tactical tweaks sort of that second half with just like little adjustments to like, I think starting positions on players in the midfield. And that seemed to cause problems for Arsenal. So like, I mean, you're going to play a tricky Bournemouth team, go on the road in one of the toughest road games that you're going to go against all games, supercharged with the Isak drama. And that thing was just a boiling pot.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that was a crazy away game. And then you go and play Arsenal, who's arguably going to be one of your toughest home fixtures and come out that way. So got to be super happy. And this is only going to get better, you would think, as these pieces kind of fall in. I think Isak's a whole nother wrinkle, that comes into play here. So yeah, you got to be, if you're a Liverpool supporter, this has got to be one of the most exciting times ever, because you're coming off, winning a championship. You're having like arguably the best single summer window in the club's history. Yeah, lots to be excited about.
I mean, that's the thing. I just think these 9 points are really, really huge. I didn't expect it, and I know it did not come in the fashion that maybe you would hope, but does not matter how the hell it comes in, especially when you make so many changes. It's the point of like getting that across the line. And I think it says more about the team that they were able to get these points, and you get 9 points out of these 3 tough fixtures. The Sunday game, especially with Arsenal, I thought that was like a big statement game. And I feel like the statement, which we will get to trivia, we should have asked the trivia while Gally was here, and that would have taught him. But what do you think of like the whole Arsenal approach to it? I mean, I kind of, we talked about this, and throughout the week in the mornings when we talk about it, I felt like, both teams will probably play it safe first and not lose, and then see what they can do to change the game and to win and stuff. If anything, this was more of a statement game for Arsenal. And I know going away from Anfield with a draw would not be a terrible result, but just the whole approach to the game, it tells me like they are not, like almost like they're not ready for this fight. Is that like an overreaction to their approach?
No, I just feel like Arsenal goes in these matches not to lose, right? And in sort of like the flip side of that is if you're playing not to lose, you're not playing aggressive enough to win a lot of times. And I just feel like that was one of those situations for them where, I thought they beat us up first half pretty good. Like I thought they looked pretty good. They had sort of the majority of possession. I thought they gave us some real problems. I thought they were physical. I thought they were winning a lot of the 50-50s. But then, throughout the course of that match, I just felt like we started to get a little bit of a hold on it. I don't think they ever adjusted tactically to what Slot did in the second half.
Yeah.
And I didn't think, they were in a position where they were making changes that were positively impacting them. And I felt like whatever we did just kind of came off, and like we got a bit of low luck. All it takes is somebody in the Discord saying they're going to stop following Liverpool. Szoboszlai shoots that from that far out, and rest is history there.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing goal too, and especially after like this second man of the match performance over there. So if you look ahead now, where do you see how Szoboszlai fits? And with Isak coming in, mind you, Isak coming in probably does not mean, I almost feel like we will barely see him until the next international break, just because he's not even like, had like a proper preseason or anything like that. Where do you see, like, how do you see this moving forward? McAllister does not look right, but then he will be healthier. Gravenberch will be healthier and back. You can't really, isn't it too early to kind of pull, Wirtz out of there, because you have to make room for Szoboszlai? So what do you think happens in that midfield?
I mean, I think right now he's undroppable. I think over time what's going to happen is, I would think, depending on the team in the moment, you're going to see rotation between McAllister and Szoboszlai, would be my guess. But I think long term, the side sets up to play with two strikers. If you look at it, I mean, we don't have it from a depth spot right now, but like as these, a couple more windows under our belt, I think that like this is a different manager who I think doesn't fancy attacking from wide positions as much as Jurgen does. He wants to play through the middle, and I think he likes strikers. I think he's going to start loading up, and I think over a course of time, I could see this team moving to almost like an old school box diamond midfield with a 10 and a 6 and 2 8s and two strikers, one that plays off the other. And then if you have overlapping football fullbacks that bomb on either side, you can kind of pick and choose your battles and where you're going and what side you want to target in matches. And that's where I see it going down the line. It just what makes sense to me based on the players he's accumulating and how he's setting up.
Yeah, Adam says like Dom has to play right back at the moment. And honestly, like if it was just Frimpong, right, I could have seen that initially, because a hamstring injury is always tricky. You don't want to bring him right back because, if it's not 100%, you can kind of go back to square one very easily. But you have Bradley in there too. Do you think, though, knowing Slot, he's played so well at right back, he will not care? I mean, this is not Football Manager. Like, you don't get -3 points when you play out of position or whatever. So do you think, as well as it has worked in some ways, he would say, the hell with it, I'm going to keep playing him at right back?
Yeah, I do. I think that Szoboszlai pulled a Milner and played himself into a fullback starting position right now. Like, I think because if you're the manager, not only is Frimpong probably going to be eased back in, but you're probably trying to ease back in Bradley too, considering the fact that that kid has had trouble staying fit for any sort of duration of time. So, I mean, I think that you're looking at both fullbacks sort of getting worked in. What it really frees you up and allows you to do is give you 60 minutes of Szoboszlai at right back and still have your best midfield intact. And then what you can do at 60, 70 plus is you can pull him up, bring on a Bradley or a Frimpong, and then you get his legs in the midfield late in a match.
Yeah, and I honestly like that rotation seemed to be working. And I know like this is kind of like the easier parts where you're playing one game a week and stuff like that, and that's going to change pretty soon. But then you're able to bring Jones in. I thought he
Yep.
played really well again. And you notice like Jones passes it back and he gets like the
Yeah.
but whereas when Veers was doing it or Mecca was doing
Yeah.
it, you were not getting anything from it. But I thought he was excellent. Obviously, he earns the foul, and he really likes finding those pockets, and he picked up all the second balls and stuff like that. So I think you have good depth and rotation going over there. And yeah, that's the only thing to me that really bugs me about this Guehi deal, dude, because I felt like we're done. Like,
Yeah.
close shop. We have enough sales, close the store, and we're done. We're going home kind of a thing. Because it felt like you
Yeah.
had every single area covered.
It feels like we had a really awesome, matching outfit picked out, and we had a hat too that matched it, and we just left the hat off, right? Like we said, fuck the hat, we'll get it later. Like that's the frustrating. It was so close to just like sort of the whole thing coming together.
I mean, League Cup, is that odd though? Like to throw him in there in a League Cup game as his first match, even like, to start him in a League Cup game. Which one is that, by the way?
It's Southampton, right? What is it?
It is Southampton. So that kind of, in some ways it helps,
September.
but in some ways it doesn't, because they're going to be constantly kind of like going at it. What was the date again? I'm sorry.
End of September.
Yeah, so we make it sound like that, but it's coming pretty fast over here. So do you think you will see him for like 10-15 minutes before?
Well, I was just
trotted out there as a starter.
I was just gonna say, I think the Everton match is gonna be tough, but it would be nice to go have a soft landing spot like Burnley and go up 3-0, and then be able to put him in for 15-20 at the end of the match and just like get some exposure, some game time to that prem level. Like, I think Southampton's a good game for him to play. I would prefer it if he saw 20-30 minutes before that.
Saida says rotation wise concern is so that's another question, by the way. Do you think with Isak coming in, which is going to be a while, but by the time he comes in, I'm looking at the schedule now, the next international break ends up being October 4th. After the Chelsea game, you have like 2 weeks. So we will be playing away at Burnley, home to Atletico Madrid, home Everton, away at Palace, away to Istanbul, playing Galatasaray. We better not fucking rotate for that one, is all I gotta say. And away to Chelsea, and then you go to the next international break. I mean, I would assume, when do you think you see the first sighting of Isak, for example, on this team? Let's start with that and work backwards.
I think it's probably going to be sooner than you think it's going to be. I think it's going to be, yeah, I think it's going to be, I think he probably doesn't want to be in a situation where, first of all, I think Isak is probably chomping at the bit. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see him get substituted on in versus Burnley, especially if they go up,
right away. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. I think we're going to see him really quickly.
That's interesting. I want to chat things. When do you guys think we will see Isak's first appearance in that number 9 over there? Because I think that will be interesting, and I would be all for that. But if that happens, okay, then since you introduced Isak a lot earlier, how do you think we utilize Ekitike, Gakpo, and maybe in a certain extent, not as concerned about it, I guess, but Rio in the long run then?
Well, I don't know. I think it's fluid, because I think that, he's going to want to play. There's going to be situations where he's going to play 3 across the top, and there's going to be almost times where he plays with those 4 attackers. So I think when Isak starts to start out of the gate, when he starts starting matches, I think that's when it's going to be really interesting, because I think you have a decision to make. You're either going to have Gakpo come off the bench, or you're going to essentially make Hugo your flex 4th attacker that's coming in off the bench. And I think Probably how and when he does that is determined by who we're playing, considering the fact that he seems to do a lot of that, like tinkering versus like, I like with Jurgen, he had a definite substitution pattern. It was the same no matter what,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And I think it's very different with Orange Slot. And so I think I still see this being a 4-3-3. And I think the reason that I keep coming back to the fact that I think this is primarily going to be a 4-3-3 is because if it's not a 4-3-3, you have a real problem with what you do with Mo. And I think like that's, and I still think like you have to account for that to some degree.
Yeah, that will be interesting because I don't know. Excuse me. You don't want probably Mo in a 4-4-2 up top. More importantly, I don't think Mo wants to be in a 4-4-2 up top and like wrestle with center backs. That's not really his thing over here. But so this is Rio doesn't get another league game. I don't think so either. Because looks like Chiesa is going to be that first sub in the attacking position over here. Jimbo makes a good point that he is going away international duty. I was just pulling that up. They will play Slovenia on Friday and then Kosovo on Monday. So it will be interesting to see if he plays or how long he plays and stuff like that, because I think that would be very telling. And I know those are totally different than playing a game in the Premier League, but it will tell us. I think it's in the beginning it's easy for Slot, right? You have a Ekitike out there who can give you 60-70 solid minutes, and we kind of drop off when he comes off. So now you introduce Isak. So for the next 2-3 weeks, I think it's an easy fix, but it's going to get trickier, I think, as the time goes. But man, it's a long season, injuries and all kinds of stuff happens. 4-3-2-1 Saidu wants to see, but that again makes Mo pretty centralized and it totally eliminates Gakpo and stuff. I actually thought this was one of Gakpo's better games, to be honest with you, defensively, because he did a lot more work. If Kirk has looked pretty solid, I think a lot of that came from the fact that Gakpo was actually taking care of his business defensively.
Yeah, no, I thought both of them played pretty well. And I think like Gakpo is coming back and winning a lot of stuff in our own box too. Like he's coming back and at least using his height, which is important. And I think that was the one thing that made me nervous during the Arsenal match is like, that's such a good team from set pieces. So to give up 8 corners the way we did, to sort of have our ears pinned back at times, like I thought we did and handled ourselves relatively well against a very physical team who like sort of specializes in getting in the box and creating chaos, right? With their height and their size. And I thought overall we did a fairly good job. I mean, like I said, I think we gave up more corners than I wanted to, but they did a good job.
Why do you think that is? Like, is it like, is it just more focused knowing, hey, these guys are really good at set pieces as opposed to, what I mean? Like, I was wondering that because, like, how do you go from not being able to defend corner kicks against, like, Atletico Bilbao, like, with, like, at all games, like, all preseason and stuff like that, to pretty much making the best set piece team ineffective in a lot of set pieces that, like you said, you probably did not want to give.
I gotta imagine it was like 85% of training this week. You know what I mean? The past week, like I feel like
set piece FC.
I feel like I'm not even joking. I feel like they probably just got beat over the head with it all week. Like, I mean, at least that's what I would have done if I was the manager. So
I mean, that's the thing with Arsenal, and I think I want to ask you that obviously, like in terms of like their windows. Yeah, I mean they are set piece FC. They beat United with a set piece goal that Altay kind of like gifted them. I know they hammered Leeds, but the floodgates opened with a set piece goal again from a corner. So it is a team, and you watch that first half even, and you said it yourself, like they kind of like control the midfield a bit better than we did. But you look at the chances created, and it's like really nothing. I mean, you watch the highlights from that game afterwards. It's like not a lot. I mean, they're not really highlights for the most part, like created. You can always tell by the way the highlight reel when they show something, you're like, yeah, this was a bad game, man. If they put this in the reel, this was a bad game. But we do have, I do not want to forget the trivia because BJ did send in a new trivia for this week. I still had the bank ones. I don't know if I don't think you'll get this. It's more like going to be a shot in the dark, but it is about Arteta because I do want to ask you about Arsenal and Chelsea and obviously like City and stuff. But so the last time Arsenal beat Liverpool at Anfield, Wenger was in the technical area and actually Arteta was on the pitch as an Arsenal player. How many goals has Arteta scored against Liverpool as a player in all competitions anywhere, anytime.
He took pens for them for a while, didn't he? I feel like he did.
I don't know. This one doesn't say the ones how they were scored is scored. Oh, I got the audience too. People are like, damn it, Google is not that specific. Off the chats, like Google can't answer.
I can't remember any. I'll go one just because I think he was on pens for a minute for Arsenal, but I don't remember any.
It's actually two.
Really?
One of them is while he was at Everton at
Okay.
Goodison Park. That's the only one I remember, to be honest with you. And then the second one is as an Arsenal player at Anfield, February 2014.
Interesting. I don't remember that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't remember him. Do you remember him much as a player?
I remember
like this guy that was.
Yeah, I remember him as a player for Everton more than I do Arsenal. I feel like for some reason. Yeah.
Because he was, I mean, it's credit to him. He was more like the blue collar guy doing the dirty work, so he didn't show as much and stuff like that. But you know, like I just remember his fouls.
Wasn't he on those those really memorable teams? Like I think he was on those kind of memorable Everton teams that had Cahill on it. Like I feel like they played together for a little bit.
He totally of all time. He had 42 goals in the Premier League, but 28 were for Everton. Because I think he was doing the penalties for Everton, if I remember.
Okay, so maybe that's what I'm thinking.
And then 14 for like Arsenal at the end. So, but yeah, thanks, BJ. Hope you're doing well, buddy. I wanted to make sure like that does not go to waste because I thought it was kind of interesting. But let me ask you that we kind of talked about their approach and Arsenal and stuff like that. It's too early in the season. 3 games in. When you look at like 10th, 15th week and stuff like that, how do you see this league from what you've seen so far? Give me a top 3 and how close they are.
I mean, my top 3 right now would be Liverpool, Arsenal, and Chelsea. That being the thing, I think Chelsea got absolutely gifted 3 points this last week. Like I thought that was like we could probably talk all night about how awful that game was from a refereeing standpoint. If I was a Fulham supporter, I'd be absolutely livid. But I still think Chelsea looks really good. I think they got a lot of nice pieces. I think they're gelling together. I like their manager. I like what they're doing over there. I said this last week when I was talking with Gally. I'll say it again. I think Tottenham, like, they've got a lot of nice pieces, but they got to show me. They've got to be like, we've done this so much with Tottenham, and they've just got to prove over time that they can be consistent. And I do think they're going to be better this year. I just need to see that consistency.
When you look at what happened to them this week, do you think it's just the old Tottenham? Because I mean, they didn't just. I mean, the goal is a deflection and everything, but you look at that game, you look at the stats and stuff like that. I mean, it was all Bournemouth. Yeah,
they didn't look good. I mean, look, it's a new manager. Like, I think they've overachieved at this point. Like. So I think they're going to come in and they'll probably have some of these moments, right? And they'll start to put it together. But I think they're on the right trajectory. I just can't put them up there yet. City's going to find a way to be in the mix, I think. I still think City is just like, we have seen them over the years significantly get thinner from a squad depth standpoint. And I can't think that it doesn't have anything to do with all the stuff that's happening legally with that club. I am convinced of it. But I think this is sort of like last year. I said that I thought it was the beginning of the end. And I think so far they've kind of like proven that so far this year through 3 matches. Right. So we'll see what happens. I just don't like enough of what I see from them, especially defensively. I think that they look really vulnerable in a way that they haven't looked vulnerable. Like, last year was sort of the chink in the armor, but I don't think we've seen them look this vulnerable defensively in a really long time.
Yeah, they do not look. I mean, when you watch the game, and let's face it, you watched a lot of City games, unfortunately, over the years, hoping for them to, like watching hopeful. And honestly, like the moment they got the first goal, in most cases, you were like, well, this one is done. This one ended fast and stuff like that, because they would get that early goal, like freaking, like, the early pressure, freaking Silva, even like when freaking Sterling was there and stuff like that. So, I just don't get that feeling, number one. And I think, do you think part of it is before when people were playing City, they went there or they played against City thinking we're not going to get anything out of this. And I think once you lose that invisible shield around you as a team, Like sometimes happens like when, like you're always winning at home and suddenly that streak goes away and it kind of like it loses its scare. Like when that invisible shield is gone, I think, we always talked about this, right? Like when teams play against City, they play totally different than when they play against us. Do you think that's because there was a feeling always because of Klopp's system that you could get us in certain ways? Whereas City, people always went hopeful, but then they look at the last season and a half and you're like, hey, we can get something out of these guys.
Yeah, I tell you what it is. I think they just don't kill teams off like they used to very quickly. Like, I think they let people hang around. Like, like I heard the Brighton commentators talking about how it was such a comfortable 1-0 lead. And I was thinking, like, I never played a game of football where a 1-0 lead was comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Because shit like a handball happens, and then all of a sudden it's 1-1. Like, so I just think that my thing with them is like, they've obviously struggled, but I don't think that they're just not putting teams away anymore. Remember when they just used to put them like the pedal down? Like
Yep.
they'd score like maybe 8-10 minutes in, and then around the 20 mark, they would just get 2 or 3 more. And next thing you know, you're down 3 at halftime and you're just like trying to get through the next 45.
Yeah, it was damage control.
Yeah. Yeah. And I just don't, I think part of that is they're just not putting teams away, but I think part of that is like, I think they significantly handcuffed themselves when they bought Haaland, because I think there's one way that you can play that man. Like, he's an incredible striker, but there's only one way you can play with him. He's not going to move around a whole lot for you. He's not going to come deep into the mids the way you need to. I think he's limited from a distribution standpoint. He's a target old school number 9. And I think Pep just doesn't that's not how Pep plays. Remember when City was at their best is when they had these fluid, sort of multifaceted functional pieces like Alvarez and even Aguero,
striker and stuff.
Yeah. And you didn't know where it was coming from because you had 3 guys that could all hit it from anywhere. And I think right now they have one target 9 that they feed everything through in an aging midfield.
Yeah, I mean, you look, and that's another thing, man. It is aging midfield. Like I say, Gundogan is gone, and they did move a lot of pieces. Like Ederson is gone, and I mean, obviously Donnarumma will be a huge upgrade to what they have. Mind you, last week was, but not this week. They didn't have anything to do with the goalie at all. But you see, I was watching that Brighton game, you see Silva come in, and he's nowhere near the old pain in the ass Silva that he was. Obviously, Kevin De Bruyne is gone. Even when Kevin De Bruyne was not himself, there were times, I mean, we had that feeling with Trent in the past, when he gets the ball, looks up as a defense, you're like, oh, holy shit. That ball is going somewhere very dangerous. And you don't have that. Nobody on that team now can get that ball and give you that feeling. And I don't know, Pep is talking about getting the squad smaller. And I mean, I guess ultimately they did. In terms of the window, who do you think, aside from us, obviously we gave ourselves a pretty darn high grade, who do you think did really well? When you look at teams that we're going up against, Arsenal, Chelsea, City. I don't even know if you put United in that conversation. Obviously, you don't. Spurs, I don't know. Do you put in that conversation? Newcastle at the end, do you throw them in that conversation? I mean, in terms of our title challengers, let's say.
I think I probably go Liverpool, Arsenal 2, and I think I go Tottenham 3, followed by Chelsea probably in terms of best windows. I mean, I thought Arsenal did a really good job. They got a center back in Hinsipe that we've been tracking forever. That was somebody we were interested in. I mean, Eze is going to be great for them, right? I mean, we thought that he was probably going to City at some point. They got another center back who's gonna, be able to be in the rotation. That kid from Valencia. I mean, I don't love Marc Guehi from Chelsea, but he's a pace merchant and he gives you problems. We saw that. He gave Kirkes all he could handle. Kirkes had a hell of a match, but I mean, he was a handful. Zubimendi and somebody we wanted, right? I think they had a pretty darn good window in terms of just quality. I thought they got 5 or 6 quality pieces that they can plug easily into that starting 11 all over the pitch, which is, what we did. And then I think, if you're looking at Tottenham, I just think that Tottenham had some really nice pieces. I think that Xavi, if they can keep, is it Simons? How do you say his last name? Simon Simons?
It's Simon,
Xavi?
isn't it?
Simone, yeah. I think that if Thomas Frank can keep his head in the right place and can kind of ground him and like keep him focused, I think he's going to be a great player. I think he's got like his thing is he's had some maturing to do a little bit. But like I think he has the ability to be a game changer for you in terms of being a transcendent talent. He can be really, really good. And then of course they got some nice pieces in general. Like I was at 2 games ago. I thought Paulinho was probably man of the match.
Yeah.
You know, he was really, really good. And then you got, you know, Kudus coming in, you got Matthias Tell coming in and completing a loan transfer. Like, I
Why
just
do you
think
their name doesn't come up as much then? Do you think just, you know, we were talking about earlier, like the new manager thing, is that what kind of like puts a cloud over them?
probably, I mean, it's also just Tottenham. I think people don't pay attention to it. Like, because they just assume they're not going to do a whole lot of anything except for selling and buying, you know, in desperation, absolutely when they have to. And I think they did a good job of being a little bit more proactive in this window. You know, they obviously missed out on Gibbs White, which I think would have been huge for them from Forest. But you know, I think they've done some nice stuff, and like I think they're gonna do. I mean, looks like they're at least using this Harry Kane money in a way that's somewhat intelligent. So whether they can put all together over the course of the season is another thing altogether.
I mean, that's the thing. I do like some of the moves they made, and you know, you watch them at that City game, but you can always see the old Tottenham is a little bit still there, where it's a little bit naive attacking, leaving the back open and stuff. But it's a team that works a lot harder physically. That it's not as like I think like moving on from Son and stuff like that in that sense was kind of like a smart move for them to kind of like enter a new era and stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, probably because partially it's Spurs and partially because, you know, the new manager, there's going to be games like what we just saw this week. I mean, they were just blown out of that. Could have been like a 3-0, 4-0 game very, very easily. And it ended up being. And yeah, I mean, Arsenal, I think like Adam was saying that he doesn't rate the players. I think, you know, I like the players they've gotten. I don't know about Gyökeres. I really don't know. But I don't know if he's like, they have gotten the right guys. Eze, I think, is the difference maker. Out of all the players they've signed, I think that's a guy who can, aside from the set pieces and being the set piece FC, I think that's one player that can kind of win you games and do things that, you know, like Mo does for us in terms of creating something out of nothing and get you a goal. What's going on, man? Welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. On the way out, we're gonna talk a little bit about this, and I know it's gonna be like grumpy old man yelling at clouds, but I mean, is VR only getting freaking worse?
Oh my god!
In terms
dude.
of like the involvements, I mean, now we can't even watch corner kicks and be like, we're done now. Like they're going back and watching the thing from like 3 minutes ago. I mean, I hated it in the beginning, the whole VAR thing. Everybody knows these dogs hate it. They got used to it. I got used to it. You know, we got the whole thing's fixed. And then we watched a couple of games, like in the League Cup or whatever. And it was like, okay, thank God we have VAR because these guys got only worse without VAR now. But now, God, man, it feels like talking about re-refereeing the game. It is happening every single game. It's becoming unwatchable in that sense.
It's crazy. And I think the 3 biggest things are like the fact that they're retroactively looking at plays now like drives me insane. And it's almost like, to me, it's like, if you're going to retroactively look back at a play, can we not have the broadcasting team know? Because I don't want to fucking know. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
you know what you have to do.
Yeah. Come shock me in 5 minutes with your stupidity, but don't tell me it's going on in the background. The other thing is like, I feel like we once again have fucked up handball. Like we defined it as like, you know, like, okay, it's got to be, you know, natural motion or, you know, of the body or whatever. And now like, I just think we've lost common sense. Like we've redefined what like natural positioning is now. Like to me, if you're like, okay, this will probably be controversial. I don't think you should get a handball if it hits your hand and your hand is against your body or protecting another part of your body, like your face. Like I get that the hand's up here and it's not supposed to be high, but like that ball isn't going in the goal. It's going off your face. Like, you know what I mean? And I think the other thing, like they're calling handballs from 3 feet away now. Like when somebody blasts a shot, you know, and it goes off, like, can we use some common sense here? Like if the defender's clearly not making himself bigger and it's blasted from 3 feet away, like the reaction time to that is not even like it's a split second. I just feel like common sense has gone out the window. I don't understand. We're like disrupting the flow of matches now. Like football doesn't feel fluid like it used to, like, and that's not to say like, I mean, I miss when we could just celebrate a goal, but like, I'm talking about just the natural flow of the game doesn't feel good anymore.
It's the handball thing is a disaster, and I think it kind of like rewards teams to just keep throwing in the box. It's gonna bounce on somebody's ass or foot or into his hand and stuff, and then we're gonna get a penalty. Is basically what you're going for now, especially in like these set pieces and stuff. The thing that I am hating the most on is watching back these set pieces, because I feel like, and like you see in the United game, like saw it last week, see it again.
You can find a foul anywhere.
Yes. So now you can basically, as VAR, pretty much determine what's going to happen. This would be like, I mean, for the American audience or people who are here, like you go back and watch every play in NFL and find a holding call.
Yep.
Because you can find it in every freaking play and be like, 60 yards to the screens, boys. We got to find a holding call. And I feel like that's what's happening now. If you're watching, and that's another thing. I almost like it in some ways. I know exactly what you mean, that I don't want to know what you're doing in the background, but I hate it when they're watching it right now. Dude, if you had to watch it for 2 minutes, then it wasn't clear and obvious. And that should be very clear and obvious. That it's not clear and obvious. It has become, like the whole fluidity of the game. Like I say, I got used to the goal thing. That's fine. Whatever, the offside, that's fine. But it's becoming almost like unwatchable in that sense. And I feel like when this thing first started as VAR, let's face it, it felt like some of the bigger teams cannot get away with things as they can. It kind of leveled the playing field, right? Because then, if they got the benefit of the doubt because they had the star player, like when Kane fell, I mean, like it was a penalty or whatever. Now you watch and highlight, it might not be. But I hate the fact that now they almost like trying to level it back up, because now they can go back and watch anytime the big boy takes a corner kick and find a situation where somebody was held, and they don't go above and beyond on the other ones. It feels like
I feel like last year the threshold was way too high for clear and obvious. Like it just it took them. It took an act of God to get them to call a ref over to a screen. And now this year I feel like it's too low. Like I feel like they're taking 50-50 calls and having the ref come over and look at it in the monitor. Like I don't understand what's happening. It seems significantly worse in this first 3 weeks. Like we're match deciding decisions, and in Fulham's case, 2 of them. Like it's really bad, and it just rolled right into the United game, with Pablo. It's like it was like unreal, dude. Yeah, I don't get it.
I mean, poor Fulham. I forgot about that, because they were the ones against United too, weren't they? I didn't realize. Yeah, there was like back to back. I just think it makes it, and once they called to the screen, the writing is on the wall now. We called you over here to take a look at what the hell you missed. So they're kind of gonna go with it. I know, man. It has really, really negative. Do you think it's a matter of, like, before the season they were like, hey, the first 3 games, let's watch this like a hawk, and then we'll go back to our regularly scheduled programming? Or is that me being wishful thinking here?
I don't know, man. It just seems like general incompetence, and like, I don't know. It sucks because it's ruining football. It's not fun to watch. Like I hate it. I hate all of it, and I hate it for everybody involved. Like it's just not fair to these teams that play so hard to have these decisions made like the way that they're being made. It's not right.
And the whole thing was, he's human. He can miss something. But that's not even it now. Like we're kind of like re-refereeing the game. Then just take the guy from the middle away, and then you guys just watch the monitors and call everything that way. But Sergi says everyone should go on strike until the officials get better. But that's never going to happen. I just felt like, we always said it's not VAR, it's how it's used. But like now we can add another layer to it. It feels like why it's used or when it's used.
Yeah. The whole the whole going back and looking at plays thing. Like they used to do it on goal scoring plays, right? But now they're doing it on set pieces, which to me is just absurd. It's so absurd. And like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how you can look, back even at that the goal that Fulham scored, and you see that guy roll over and like just put his his other foot down on the other guy and you call that a foul. Like, it's so crazy to me that like we're even at the point where like we're taking goals away from teams. We're taking goals out of the game. Like, this is this is an entertainment business. Like, why are we taking goals out of the game unless it's very clear and very obvious, none of which were. Like, and I think it was over the last, like, by the Manchester United game, we'd had a week of play and we'd had 2 games. And at that point, we had 5 good goals be taken out by VAR that should not have gotten taken out. And that's just insane to me.
That is insane because it goes against like everything else that they're trying to do. It feels like very counterproductive over there. But I'm just hoping like they were like, hey, well, like the point of emphasis that they make in the beginning of every season. Now, you know, players, let's face it, will be automatically a bit more careful about like tugging jerseys and stuff like that in the box, and hopefully they will kind of like go back to regular, and we'll go back to our inconsistent ways. But international break, we all know how much you love it, but I guess my question to you is, does it come in a good time or does it come in a bad time for you in terms of Liverpool? Obviously
it comes for a good time for me because I know we're going to have them. So if we're going to have them, please, let's have it at week 1 of the NFL schedule. It's probably not the answer.
I didn't even think of that. I did not even think of that. Yeah, I mean, I think Adam was asking, like, do you feel the refs are scared? I think there's something to lean on with the VAR thing. You know, like if I miss it, it's kind of a deal. So I understand not making the call.
They're making it hard for, like, you know, I would think that, like, I gave them that excuse when they weren't calling refs to the monitor, but when they were calling refs to the monitor on 50-50 decisions, you're now making it harder on everybody.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
I think you're throwing the guy under the bus for a 50-50 now, as opposed to, hey, you really have to look at this dude. Yeah. Now you're calling the guy into the office for every goddamn thing. It was just like, can you sign this? I mean, it's just like unnecessary paperwork you're calling him to the sideline for. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just hoping that, you know, like once the international break is over, we'll go back to our regularly scheduled shitty refereeing, minus the over-the-top VAR and stuff like that. But international break is here. There'll be a lot to talk about this week, I'm sure. I'll be back tomorrow morning with Mark. And then tomorrow night, the panel show will be on. And tomorrow also, we'll be recording the Rival Bros. I do really want to ask Edip about the United stuff. I don't think he can be happy about the goalie situation alone based on what he's been telling me over the last 2-3 weeks over there. So we'll have some fun with that. But thanks for everybody joining in today. Do hit that like. Do hit the subscribe if you have not done so already, and drag a friend by the ear, bring him over here and have him subscribe as well. And then we'll be back with you guys soon. Enjoy the international break. We didn't get Guehi. It hit the post, but this 9 points out of 3 games.
We'll get the rebound in January.
Exactly, pretty much. And dunk it in, baby. That's the way it goes. Have a great week, everybody. Take care.